Welcome back to the channel. If you value serious investigation, documented evidence, and conversations that separate fact from speculation, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it widely. And before you leave, make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments. I want to know what you think. Now, let's get started with the episode. On July 20th, 1969, the world watched as Neil Armstrong stepped onto the lunar surface and said, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." Nearly 600 million people witnessed the broadcast. But more than 50 years later, a persistent claim remains. Was it all staged? Let's examine the evidence carefully. The mission in question was Apollo 11, launched by NASA on July 16, 1969. The crew consisted of Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins. The spacecraft traveled approximately 384,400 kilometers to the Moon. Armstrong and Aldrin descended in the lunar module Eagle while Collins remained in orbit. The conspiracy theory suggests the landing was filmed in a studio, often linking the claim to filmmaker Stanley Kubrick, who had just directed 2001, A Space Odyssey the year before. The theory gained traction in 1976 with the publication of We Never Went to the Moon by Bill Kaysing, a former technical writer for a NASA contractor. Kaysing claimed the technology of the time was insufficient to accomplish the mission. But let's test that claim. First, the technology. The Saturn V rocket remains one of the most powerful rockets ever built. Its development is thoroughly documented in engineering archives. Over 400,000 engineers, scientists, and technicians worked on the Apollo program. Historian Margaret A. Whitecamp notes, the Apollo program was a massive, publicly funded endeavor with extensive documentation, international visibility, and independent verification. If the landing was staged, it would require silence from hundreds of thousands of participants over decades. Next, let's address the flag. One of the most common claims is that the American flag appears to wave, suggesting wind in a studio. However, the flag had a horizontal rod along its top to keep it extended. When astronauts twisted the pole into the lunar soil, it caused the fabric to ripple. In a vacuum, without air resistance, those ripples persist longer. Physicist Richard Feynman once emphasized the importance of understanding physical context before drawing conclusions. The Moon has no atmosphere. Motion behaves differently. Another claim concerns shadows. Conspiracy advocates argue that shadows and photos fall at different angles, implying multiple light sources. But photography experts explain that uneven lunar terrain causes perspective distortion. A single light source, the Sun, can produce non-parallel shadow appearances when projected onto uneven surfaces. NASA released thousands of high-resolution photographs. Independent analysts have examined lighting geometry and found consistency with a single solar source. Then there is the question of radiation. Critics point to the Van Allen radiation belts, discovered in 1958, claiming astronauts would have been fatally exposed. However, spacecraft trajectories were designed to minimize time spent in the belts. The exposure was brief and within survivable limits. According to NASA's biomedical reports, radiation doses received during Apollo missions were monitored and recorded. Astronaut Buzz Aldrin has repeatedly addressed this claim, stating, "We went to the Moon, and we went safely." Let's examine lunar rocks. Apollo missions brought back 382 kilograms of lunar material. These samples have been studied not only in the United States but also in laboratories worldwide. Geochemist Ian Crawford has explained, the composition of lunar rocks differs significantly from Earth rocks and matches what we know about lunar formation. The rocks contain isotopic signatures consistent with formation in a low-oxygen, airless environment. If they were fabricated, scientists across rival nations would have needed to participate in the deception. Now consider international verification. During the Cold War, the Soviet Union was actively tracking Apollo missions. The USSR had every incentive to expose a hoax if one existed. Space historian Asif Siddiqui notes, the Soviets tracked Apollo telemetry independently. They never disputed the landing. In fact, Soviet newspapers congratulated the United States after Apollo 11. If the mission was staged, why would America's chief rival remain silent? Then there are retroreflectors. Apollo astronauts placed laser retroreflectors on the Moon's surface. These devices reflect laser beams sent from Earth. Scientists still use them today to measure the distance between Earth and the Moon with centimeter precision. This experiment, known as lunar laser ranging, provides ongoing evidence of physical hardware left on the lunar surface. No reflector, no measurement. And measurements continue. In 2009, NASA's Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter photographed the Apollo landing sites from orbit. The images show descent stages, equipment, and even astronaut footpaths. Independent researchers have analyzed these images. The landing sites are visible. So why does the hoax theory persist? Psychologists studying conspiracy belief suggest that large-scale historic events create cognitive dissonance. The scale of achievement feels too extraordinary. Political scientist Karen Douglas writes, "Conspiracy theories often arise when events feel significant and individuals seek proportional explanations. The moon landing occurred during intense political tension. Trust in government was shaken by events like the Vietnam War and Watergate. Distrust fuels suspicion. But suspicion alone is not evidence. There is also the argument that it would have been easier to fake the landing than to accomplish it. Yet film technology in 1969 could not convincingly simulate lunar gravity in real time. Special effects experts have analyzed the footage. The slow-motion movement matches 1/6 gravity physics precisely. To fake it convincingly, one would need advanced CGI decades before it existed." Film historian Mark Jankovic observed, "The level of realism in Apollo footage exceeds studio capability of the era." And if it were filmed on Earth, where? No large soundstage has ever been identified with physical evidence of such production. Let's remember something fundamental. Apollo 11 was not a single isolated event. It was part of a series. Apollo 12, 14, 15, 16, and 17 also landed astronauts on the moon between 1969 and 1972. 12 humans walked on the lunar surface. Each mission left equipment. Each mission brought back samples. Each mission was tracked internationally. To maintain a hoax across multiple missions over several years would require an unprecedented global conspiracy involving adversarial nations. There is no credible documentation supporting such coordination. The archives are open. The telemetry data exists. The photographs exist. The samples exist. The historical record is extensive. So did humans land on the moon? All available scientific, photographic, geological, and international evidence says yes. The conspiracy claims rely largely on misinterpretations of physics, distrust of institutions, and emotional reaction to a monumental achievement. Extraordinary skepticism is healthy, but it must be applied consistently. If we reject Apollo evidence, we must also reject satellite communications, GPS systems, and countless technological developments built on the same aerospace physics. Evidence is interconnected. The moon landing remains one of the most documented events in human history. And yet it remains questioned. That tension between achievement and doubt tells us something about modern culture. We live in an era where information is abundant, but trust is fragile. In the next episode, we move from space exploration to cryptozoology. Is Bigfoot merely folklore, or does it connect to ancient religious narratives? We will examine eyewitness reports, DNA testing, and the evolution of myth. Thank you for watching. If you found this episode valuable, please share it, leave a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe for more deep dives into fascinating topics. Your engagement helps the channel grow and allows us to continue creating content that matters. We are eager to hear what you think about the moon landing, so don't hesitate to join the conversation below. The next episode on Bigfoot is just around the corner, and you won't want to miss it. This is Curiosity Kenyon. Stay curious. Stay vigilant.